coming back for more. Maybe I could get some ice net, but there's no one I can see.
Good evening and welcome back to Veiled Mysteries. Thank you for spending a little bit of your Tuesday evening with us here tonight. Tonight we begin to dive into the three-part season finale of Season 2 of Veiled Mysteries. Over the next 3 weeks, Veiled Mysteries chief correspondent and legal analyst Taylor Edwards I will be covering the heartbreaking case that not only shocked the nation, but played out over the internet. Through vlogging and daily posting, 22-year-old Gabby Petito set out to be a social media influencer along her 23-year-old fiancé Brian Laundrie while traveling across the country in their 15-foot converted camper van. Gabby relocated to Florida after dating Brian for a short time and began their journey to the West. The series of events, which eventually led to the death of Gabby and the subsequent suicide of Brian, is what we will begin to unveil in this three-part season finale series. This series may not be suitable for all audiences and contains discussions of domestic violence, suicide, and murder. As always, viewer discretion is advised. Live from Orlando, Florida, part 1 of the Gabby Petito story starts right now.
The following episode contains discussions of domestic violence, murder, and suicide. This program may not be suitable for all audiences. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this special edition episode of Veiled Mysteries. I'm here live with Taylor Edwards, Veiled Mysteries chief correspondent and legal analyst, to cover this case with us. Taylor, it's so fun sitting next to each other.
I know. Surprise, everyone. Everyone always thinks that we film it in 2 separate locations, and we never do, but now we really are not.
Yeah.
Because we're right next to each other, so This is so fun.
For those that don't know, we do shoot like kind of across from each other, so we can kind of see each other, but we're sitting right next to each other today.
Yeah, I know. Now I
so
can actually see you. Normally there's too much equipment.
Yeah.
But today I can actually see you.
This is our special edition series finale set, so don't get used to it. It's just for the season finale.
It was very chaotic, but you get it for 3 episodes.
3 episodes, yeah. So, Taylor, go ahead and lead us into what we're talking about today.
Yeah, all right. So, kind of the overview on the case here. So, this case was pretty crazy. It involved a lot of social media, domestic violence warning signs, police body cam footage, online sleuthing, nationwide missing person search, and then a suspect who ultimately died before ever facing a trial. So, as much as everyone is very excited, and I know we are too, on the conspiracies, tonight's episode is really just going to be an overview of who Gabby Petito is, who Brian Laundrie is, overall, like what their families said about them and what their personalities were like, and then going very basically into what their van life travel was. Not so much on conspiracies tonight, not so much really delving into the murders tonight. We just wanted to kind of split it up in the 3 episodes the best way it made sense, and we figured a good overview was what made sense for tonight's episode. So Gabby Petito was a 22-year-old aspiring travel creator who disappeared during a cross-country van trip with her fiancé, Brian Laundrie, in 2021. I do remember when this case happened, Brandon. It's really wild to me because I never think of, like, whenever big cases like this happen, me living in the area that it happened in, and I did.
Yeah.
But this was really crazy when it did happen. I remember I think I was living alone at the time. but my best friend Haley, we talk about it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So you were in Florida at that time?
Yeah, I was.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was going to say,
Mhm.
you just hit 5 years at Disney, so we try
Yeah.
to do mental math. So investigators ultimately concluded that Brian murdered Gabby in Wyoming before returning to Florida alone in her van, which is a big, big topic that will come up later. And then the FBI later stated that Brian admitted responsibility in a notebook that was found near his remains, which also becomes huge later. A big thing with this relationship, though, was that online, the relationship appeared happy, healthy, and like really carefree. They traveled a lot together. They always seemed happy. But again, this kind of dives into there's more than meets the eye. You never know what's going on in someone's real life behind the cameras. And this case really puts that into perspective because behind the scenes, investigators and domestic violence experts later pointed to signs of emotional instability and possible coercive control. It was a very, very crazy relationship. Pretty toxic on both ends, not just on one. I would say more on one than the other, but I think they were both toxic in their own ways towards each other. But this case really, for me, was the start of really realizing that there's more behind the scenes than what someone may think. Anything to add to that basic overview?
Yeah, I just find it very interesting. Obviously, this case did not resolve itself in Florida. It kind of just started and ended. A lot of the crime did take place elsewhere. But what I find so interesting is that it really was kind of like a Florida case.
Yeah.
Everything kind of played out because of how it ended. It kind of played out with the coroners in Florida, the police in Florida. So that's
as much as it wasn't a Florida case, it really was.
Yeah.
A Florida case.
Mm-hmm.
Because she did not die here. They found her remains in Wyoming, which is where they assume she died. He, however, did commit suicide, get murdered. That's a conspiracy I can't wait to get into. But he ultimately died in Florida. His parents lived in Florida. And as Brandon said in the intro, she moved here very shortly after they started dating. So they actually did not meet in Florida. They both lived in New York, and they both lived on Long Island, and they went to the same high school. Different years. Gabby was born March 19th, 1999, and Brian was November 18th of 97. So few years apart, but in New York. So that's also kind of crazy, is that, and they didn't date in high school either. They knew of each other in high school. They weren't necessarily super close friends or anything like that. But that also is kind of crazy to me that it's one of those things they knew each other and knew of each other, but they didn't date. They weren't really close friends.
Mm-hmm.
But then they ultimately ended up together in Florida.
Yeah.
So Gabby herself was described as creative, adventurous, artistic, outgoing, and compassionate. She loved traveling, hiking in the outdoors, photography, art, documenting her experiences, exploring new places. Her friends always described her as someone who loved people. She made friends easily. She was expressive and emotional. She loved animals. She always wanted to experience the world. She had a strong creative side, and one big thing was her mother described her as having a free spirit, which kind of goes into wanting to live that van life and ultimately set up a YouTube channel and do vlogging of her adventures, which is what the goal was whenever they went on their van life exploration. And then Brian Laundrie, they did have similar interests, so they connected that way, but he was interested in art and drawing, hiking, camping, national parks. He was very big on environmentalism, which isn't very important. I just think it's very odd. A lot of times he was known to drink and eat out of melon rinds. so he wasn't using plastic.
Okay.
I found that in my research.
I mean, that's psychopath behavior.
Yeah, stay away.
Yeah.
But he really didn't want to use like plastic, so he ate and drank out of like a cantaloupe rind. Minimalist living, reading, outdoor travel. Others described him as quiet, reserved, artistic, outdoorsy, and somewhat socially withdrawn. So opposites in the sense of he was very quiet, reserved, but they both like the outdoors and hiking and traveling.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's the basics on like each of them themselves.
We do have some good comments rolling in. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining, of course. Michael said, never trust a bald guy or a ginger. Casey says, pretty good. The first clue of trouble should have been you live in a van down by the river. For those that aren't aware, van life on YouTube is such a popular like subculture.
Yeah.
Like,
not for me.
I am a big fan. There's a couple van life YouTubers that I watch that I really enjoy. But it is a lifestyle choice.
It's not RVs though. It's not.
It's like converted camper vans.
Yeah, they're small vans.
Yeah. Like I said in my intro, Gabby's was only 15 feet. Obviously, two people lived in a 15-foot converted van.
Very small.
I think there's a clip of it in our intro as well.
I have the exact car it was too. It was a 2012 Ford Transit Connect.
Very small.
Yeah. And it was a basic setup for sleeping, storing things, cooking, and traveling between national parks. Oh.
Cantaloupe rind plates. That's crazy work.
Someone has a guy that's living in his van across the street from their apartment.
Oh, very interesting.
It's a murder waiting to happen, Sean said. Be careful. Don't travel alone late at night.
Of course, as you can see, scrolling at the bottom of the screen, we do have our phone line open. It's 407-801-7204. We'd love to take your call while we're sitting next to each other. That'll be really funny. So if you have any comments, questions, concerns while we're going through the case, we'd love to hear your comments as well. We are actively reading our comments here. You can also text our phone line. That's kind of better for calls, but we'll be watching that as well.
So going a little bit into their relationship, there's not too terribly much to like go into.
Mm-hmm.
They began dating in 2019. So Gabby graduated high school, I believe, in 2017. I'm trying to think because she was born the same year as my brother. I graduated 3 years after that. Yeah, 2017. Okay, yeah, there we go. The math is crazy today. So she graduated in 2017. He graduated in 2015. And then they didn't start dating until March of 2019. So it was a few years after they had graduated and like both left, went their separate ways. And they became serious fairly quickly. Eventually, Gabby moved to Florida in December of 2019. So very fast. I think it was about 9 months. She ended up moving to Florida, and she lived with his family in their family home in Florida, in Northport, Florida. And they announced their engagement in July of 2020. So very quick turnaround. So this, I think, is pretty crazy. So we have the actual post right here. So this post, it says, here's a picture from our first date because I have so much love for you. Brian asked me to marry him and I said yes. Brandon, what's crazy is this is how her parents found out.
Oh, wow. I actually didn't know that part.
Yeah. This is how her parents found out. Her mom saw this and called her and was like, what do you mean you're engaged?
Wait, that's actually kind of crazy.
Yeah, she had no idea.
Because I knew they'd known each other.
Yeah.
So I didn't know. Yeah, that's
But
crazy.
she had no idea. And same thing with her moving to Florida. She called her mom and said, I'm going. I'm moving to Florida.
Wow.
And her mom was like, are you sure? It's really quick. And she said, no, I'm going.
That's crazy. So it was red flags from the start.
Oh, yeah. Brandon, if you ever start seeing these things coming from me, take my dog. Don't let me out of the house.
One thing I do find interesting, and I feel like this is going to be a hot take, but I think they're both a little crazy.
Oh, they're very crazy. Yeah.
I think obviously Brian's crazy, and then Gabby, obviously, I think she was a little naive. Her parents obviously support her in her decisions and what she wants to do, but obviously that was a crazy move so quick.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine it's one of those things, like, if you, like, are convincing, like, you know, this is what I want, this is who I'm going to be with.
Yeah.
This is who I'm going to be with, this is who I want. But at the same time, I mean, I guess 9 months is, like, a decent amount of time.
I mean, I guess. But, like, it's still quick.
Oh, it's very quick.
Very quick.
They had no jobs lined up either whenever they moved to Florida. I think that's important to note as well. Because when they moved to Florida, they just moved in with his parents. That was it. There were no jobs lined up. Normally you have a job lined up well, I say that as I'm about to move without a job lined up.
Well,
but normally you have a job lined up before you actually make that big of a move.
Yeah. Let's see some of the comments here.
Yeah, we do have a... Sean. He said, is the slash in his eyebrow for every one of his kills?
Oh, my.
Crazy. I guess, is there only one?
It looks like there's only one. Let's see.
A pretty big one. Oh, but it wasn't there then.
Oh, it's just in this picture.
From their first date.
Yeah.
Do we think he fills it in?
Maybe.
That's crazy.
That is crazy.
And then let's see. We have... Shelby asked if we knew if they were talking before that, or was it really spontaneous? To be honest, I don't know completely. I know that they knew each other. I don't want to necessarily say that they were friends, but I do know that they knew each other whenever they were in high school. So I'm not sure how much talking actually happened in between the two. And then...
Oh, it looks like we have a call waiting.
Oh,
it looks like Jackie from Spring wants to call in, so let's go ahead and give Jackie a call here.
Hello.
Hi, Jackie. Thanks for calling in.
Hi. So I have a question about their relationship, I guess, and their friends and family. Did they see any red flags in their relationship that kind of maybe at the time they just put off? Have you read anything about this? And then after what happened, realizing, oh, that was like a major red flag?
I do know there was a friend of Gabby that had kind of thought the relationship moved quick. It was a little odd. There were some aspects that she felt like Brian was controlling.
However, this was also a friend, not that it makes a difference, but this is also a friend she found on it's like a, not a segue, a like branch off of a dating app.
Yeah.
So they met that way, but she did and felt that he was controlling in ways. And then I think her parents really were just like a lot of things moving super quickly.
Yeah. So I know like the Netflix documentary or whatever, I think had some of her friends on and touched on that stuff. But you never know how much of that they're saying is just for the cameras and how much of it was actually the case. Mm-hmm. So I didn't know if there was like a recurring theme over all of the things that have been published about them with their friends about any red flags or anything like that that they saw.
Yeah. Those are the main ones I know about.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks you guys for taking my call.
Of course. Thank you for calling in.
All right. Thanks. Bye.
Bye. Okay. Looks like we do have another call waiting. Looks like we have Sean from Texas, our number one caller. See what
Number
Sean
one
has to say.
fan.
Number one fan.
Hello.
Hi, Sean.
Hi, Sean.
Hello. So, how long did they? How long were they together before they got in this van and decided they were going to be trapped with each other in a van to really get to know one another?
So March 2019 is when they started dating, and then they went August. No, and then June of 2021 was whenever they started the van traveling. So.
And so they lived in his parents' house
Yes.
for basically 2 years together,
Yeah.
or a year.
Yeah, from December 2019 up until they left to go.
And the parents never said that they had any knockdown drag-outs between the two of them?
No, his parents haven't talked at all.
His parents are also very odd.
They are very odd. They, I don't think have ever come out publicly and said anything other than his mother, who wrote him a letter that was found next to, or in his backpack, which was next to his remains after he passed away, after he committed suicide, or was murdered, whatever you like to believe.
Well,
We'll get into that.
found her.
They found her remains.
They did, yeah.
They found her remains.
Oh, they did find her
Yes.
remains.
Yes.
So where did they find her at?
They found her
Did he
in.
just dump her somewhere in the middle of nowhere?
No, it was in Spread Creek, Wyoming, which was the last place that they were seen. That's the last place their van was seen on August 27th.
And was that was around the time when the police pulled them over and separated them?
That happened on August 12th. So, same month, a few weeks before.
Oh, I think you've got to be. That's got to be pretty unstable
Yeah.
to just, especially to trap yourself in a vehicle with somebody and can't get away from them. You're in the middle of nowhere. You got to really trust somebody to go on a road trip with no cell service,
Oh, absolutely.
totally away from everybody.
Yeah. Couldn't be me. Not
And
in
not
the woods.
knowing somebody, or thinking that you know them, and
Yeah.
finding out that they're a killer when it's too late.
Yeah, she didn't have much control over it once she found out.
Yeah.
That was the end of that.
So the thing with his parents,
Mhm.
well, are y'all going to get into more of that, where his parents possibly assisted with his getting away from the police to go out into the forest to kill himself,
I think we have
allegedly
that.
kill himself?
I think we have that slotted up more for next week's episode, because that's like a huge topic in and of itself, and a huge controversial topic. Because I heard the other day from someone that they actually think the mom killed him, not that he committed suicide. So,
I think the mom probably maybe the parents gave him pills or something to assist him in ending his life so he wouldn't have to face the consequences.
yeah. We have someone who believes he's still alive. So there's a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack.
Well, maybe he's in the van down the street from the other viewer that said there was somebody
That's where
in
he's
the
at.
van
That's where he's hiding.
across the street from her house.
Yeah. If you see a van, be careful.
So-
Could be Brian Laundrie back
All right.
from the dead.
All right. Well, we'll wait and see what other juicy nuggets y'all reveal.
Thanks, Sean.
Thank you, Sean.
So, all right.
All right, bye. As you can see, we are taking calls. Our phone number is down at the bottom, 407-801-7204. We'd love to hear your thoughts while we break down this case.
We do have some more comments that I think are kind of, sorry, you can see the edge of my laptop right here, but there's no other way for me to see this easy. Let's see, there was one I wanted to, from Hannah. So Hannah had said, she latched onto the promise of love, and I'm sure he love bombed her. That's how abusers work. They reel you in with love bombing and promises, and then slowly reveal their true colors with subtle signs of control and narcissism, but then love bomb again. It can be a toxic and addicting cycle for a victim that has internal wounds, which I 1000% believe is part of what happened and is part of the abusive cycle that they were in. We do know that there was domestic abuse at some point in their travel, but as to actually how much there was, it's not super confirmed. So that is very important, I think, to remember. And then let's see what else we have.
Someone commented, Larissa commented, do you think social media pressure to portray a perfect van life made it harder for Gabby to admit in the relationship that she wasn't as happy as it appears?
I think so, yeah.
I think so as well.
Yeah, I think, so there used to be clips you could get of, like, her filming whenever they were on the van, like, whenever they were on their stops at the van life. But they've all been taken down for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
But there are a few. You can see them in like the Netflix documentaries or any of the other documentaries that are out there. But where she will start and then mess up or do whatever and cut. And I know there's one specifically, I can't off the top of my head recall exactly when or where it was, but he makes a comment about how many times it's taking her to do something, and she said, well, you're not the one who's editing it. I can edit it to fix it. So I do think that social media was a huge pressure for her, also because everything moves so fast, and I think she felt stuck. Mm-hmm. I think she felt like she had no way out at that point.
Right. Looks like we got a text. Let's see what it says here.
But you look at that. Shelby commented and said, I really wish his parents had been charged with something because the fact that they hid him and didn't get in trouble for anything is absolutely crazy to me. The reason I believe that they did not is because there's no factual evidence showing that they hid him. It's all hearsay, and it's very difficult to charge someone with that, or as like a conspirator. That's a very hard crime to charge someone with without straight facts.
So our text came in from Chris from Houston, and he said, is it completely confirmed that he was the one that killed her? What if it was someone that took them both out and staged it to make it look like it was him?
So the only confirmation we have is Brian Laundrie's admission. He admitted it in a notebook that was found near his body. But other than that, I mean...
Which doesn't necessarily prove anything, but...
It doesn't necessarily prove that he did or didn't do it, or that it was even him that wrote that. But from everything I can tell, that is the only confirmation we really have. We have someone that said, van life is just two people cosplaying freedom while slowly realizing they're trapped in a rolling therapy session with no therapist. That's a good observation.
Yeah.
And then Sean said most social media profile posts that show a perfect life is a complete shit show behind the scenes. And then Larissa said social media definitely made their relationship look healthier than it actually was. I do think that, because obviously as someone, like, just in general, you can kind of know this from yourself. But like, I'll give a personal example. In 2021-ish, actually, you would never know that I was going through a hard time, like, mentally in my life. I was living alone. I had a bad situation with someone I was supposed to live with who screwed me over. I then had already told my best friend I wasn't going to live with her anymore after 3 years of living with her. So, like, it was one thing after another after another. We'd also just started going back to work after COVID. You would never know, though, because my social media posts were what really, are what people are seeing. So they're seeing me with the new dog I got, and they're seeing me at Universal Studios with friends. But I think it's also important because I don't necessarily think I realized what I was doing at the time of doing it. I don't think a lot of people do. But I'm not going to post a picture of me bawling my eyes out or crying and say, oh, I had such a terrible day. This happened, this happened, this happened. But it's kind of the same thing. Like, people don't necessarily think about what someone else is going through. It's just it's the same thing with, like, influencers. We all think these influencers are living these great lives and, like, getting all these free products or going on these trips, or they don't have to work because they're doing X, Y, and Z. But in reality, a lot of times influencers are some of the most lonely people because they don't have a job that they go to with other people, and they only are around the same sort of people who are doing the same thing, and they don't leave their homes, or they don't do this, or they don't, I don't want to say have a purpose, because that is their purpose, that is what they're choosing to do, but there's not like a separation. And so when this case happened, and watching all the documentaries, it really, really, really puts into perspective how important it is to not just focus on what someone posts on their social media and take that as, like, God's given rule of who they are.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Let's see.
Amelia said, I think it was more than social media. I think the pressure came from her putting her entire life and career towards becoming a successful van life vlogger. That also is a good point.
Which also is not an easy thing to do. I mean, in order to get paid for something like that, you have to get sponsorships.
Mm-hmm.
And in order to get sponsorships, people have to see your videos.
There wasn't any room for error unless she was willing to publicly fail at it. Yeah.
But also what's interesting is that her parents obviously supported her, right?
Mm-hmm.
Her parents got divorced. She came from a blended family. Her parents were divorced when she was younger. And not that they didn't have money necessarily, but it was a larger family because each step-parent had their own children and whatever. But they would support her when they could. So Brian and Gabby had to have saved however much.
Mm.
And I don't know if anyone out there has ever, I'm sure we all have, planned a trip or done this or done that, but you don't realize how expensive things are until you get there.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't realize how much of an emergency fund you need until you need it.
Yeah.
So they were staying at these, I've never been camping or hiking. They were staying at these places.
They're like the free national park camping areas.
But you have to pay for, like, the shower stuff, right?
Sometimes, yeah.
Sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a fund. You are also having to buy food to keep. But you can't necessarily keep fresh food because you're in a van.
Right.
And in order to keep that electricity going, your van has to stay plugged in. But you don't have a fridge in that. It's not an RV.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're also having to eat out. So it's a lot of money.
Yeah. Very expensive.
Jackie said, I think she worked and he didn't. I believe she bankrolled the whole life. I don't necessarily agree with that because there is evidence from documentaries that state that he worked. Before she got a job in Florida, he was the one that worked. So I don't necessarily agree with that. But I think they blew through their money faster than they thought they would.
Oh, absolutely.
And then that's a stressor. That's a huge stressor for anyone, let alone a newer relationship. Sean said, I'm a parent. I don't know what I would do to protect one of my children, which is interesting. I've talked to both of my parents about this. about like how far. Sorry, Sean commented and said, "Unless your dad is the emergency fund, dads know what things cost." Yeah, he's my emergency fund. So thanks for that. Sorry. And then let's see. Hannah says, really goes to show that even when you're an adult at 22, there is still so much you don't know, still such a vulnerable age. Which I also think is interesting because, yes, you're an adult at 22, but you're also not an adult
Right.
at 22.
You're like just becoming an adult.
Yeah, you could barely drink. Like,
Yeah. This is like a lot of 22-year-olds don't even live by themselves yet, or like are even out of their parents' house.
No.
So,
let alone have a job, pay for their bills.
Right.
Say, screw this, I'm going and buying a van and leaving.
Right.
I mean, let's see. Where were you at 22?
At home.
Where were you?
I was at home. Well, I was going to college at the time, but I was home.
Yeah. I was here. I was in Florida, so I did live alone.
It was right before I moved here.
Because I turned, for most people, your senior year of college, if you do a traditional 4-year, if you go to college. So, I mean, yeah, and then I moved to Florida. So, like, I did live alone. However, I still was bankrolled by my parents to an extent.
Yeah.
Because I had never had, like, an actual job where all of that money had to go towards a bill.
Mm-hmm.
So, to just say I'm leaving is crazy.
Yeah. Like when I finally moved out, I had funds to move out. Like I was collecting unemployment at the time, but that's how I moved. I was collecting checks.
Oh, see, I just said, all right, let's try it out. Let's see what happens. That's how I do most things, and it never works out for me. At 30 years old, I'm still doing it. About to make a move, and I'm going with a hope and a dream.
But you're not living in a van
No.
with a man that you just met, and you're not traveling the country. You're
No.
going to a familiar place.
Correct.
So it's not as bad as it feels.
Correct.
So.
Yeah, Suzanne said when I was 22, I was married and had a 2-year-old. So did my parents. So, very different lives. And then, let's see, Larissa said, what do you think law enforcement could have done differently in Moab? So that is very interesting and a huge topic in this. So for those who don't know, whenever they were in Utah, I think I'm saying that correct, Moab?
I think it's
Moab?
correct. Yeah.
Not quite sure.
We can ask AI later.
But I think that situation, so for those who don't know, there is body cam footage, which won't be in this episode, but we will have it in probably the next episode. But they were stopped by police in their van as they were driving because someone reported domestic abuse. They reported Brian hitting and screaming at Gabby. Well, when they were pulled over, it was like the tables turned. It was then Gabby was hitting Brian, and she was the aggressor. And Gabby admitted that she had hit Brian, and she had lost her temper. And I believe he had said that he had shoved her or something to try to get her away from him. He locked her out of the van at one point in this argument. And it really is crazy because whenever you think of domestic abuse, you think of a man hitting a woman in most domestic abuse cases. Unfortunately, that's just what people think of. However, it is very common nowadays and very recognized that it can be a woman hitting a man, or a man hitting a man, woman hitting a woman, whatever it may be in a domestic abuse relationship. But I think it is very hard because whenever they pulled them over, Gabby admitted she had hit him. They all took her as the abuser, and they separated them for the night. They said they did not feel the need to arrest, so they did not arrest her, but they did feel the need to separate them, and they put him in a hotel and told her, he's giving you the van for the night, you can go ahead. I think there's some places where you can go and take a cheap shower if you want to pay. And that was how they left it. And then that was on August 12th, and then she died on August 29th. Or no, he told his parents on the 29th, so the 25th or something. But I think that was handled terribly in general. But I'm very excited to talk about that and really share and see all the body cam footage next week whenever we talk about it.
Yeah, that's good. Looks like Jackie just left a comment. Was Gabby hitting Brian, or was she fighting back to get her own home/van that he tried to lock her out of? That's the most important distinction, which I think is also interesting, and we'll kind of touch on as well. She owned the van.
She did own the van.
We'll see that in the body cam when we get there. But
yes.
The title was in her name. It was
Correct.
registered to her.
She purchased the van.
Yeah. And there actually is a very interesting clip of the police when they're kind of starting this investigation and they realize that Gabby is the van owner, that they're able to actually seize the van because she's not there.
Yeah.
So we'll kind of cover that as well in our next episode. But that's something, definitely an interesting point. Like if she was fighting for what she owned, technically it was her property.
Yeah. And then Jackie also says, look at control, not just injuries. Who controlled the transportation, phone, and whether Gabby could get into the van. Yes. However, devil's advocate here, how that was set up was he had told her that she needed to cool off. She needed to calm down, and he didn't lock her out on the side of the road. They were in a city center. They were not in the middle of nowhere. They had just come from eating at a restaurant. Again. So, devil's advocate, I don't think it is as crazy as you are making it, as you are perceiving it, I should say. I do believe she did hit him at that stop, during that stop, prior to that stop.
Oh, absolutely.
I think that whenever we really talk about this and talk about this stop, that we need to remind ourselves and we need to really try, which easy for me because I love this kind of stuff. I love thinking the way that no one else does, but it is not. She also was an abuser. As much as he was an abuser, she was also an abuser.
Yeah.
And I think that's very important to note. So yes, he did wrong. Yes, he did kill her. He said, I believe he did kill her. But yes, he did kill her. However, she also was an abuser. It was not just a one-way street. She laid down and took it.
Right.
She fought, which, fine. That's great. I mean, I would fight too. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
But we can't just look at it and say, he was in the wrong, he did this. Because that's not necessarily true. Right.
I think, and I kind of said that where I thought they were kind of both crazy. I think they're both kind of guilty.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, obviously, Gabby's not guilty for her own death. I'm not trying to say that. But I think there was a lot on both sides for them to...
I agree.
...to take blame for.
Oh, I agree. Yeah. For sure. But I definitely think which I know I will say this again next week whenever we talk about it, but we need to have an open mind.
Yeah.
Whenever we go into looking at that footage and looking at that, because he is not the only one that was in the wrong and should be commented on of being in the wrong either.
Correct. And by no means does Gabby...
Did Gabby deserve... No.
Yeah,
that's not what I'm saying.
No.
Not at all. I don't think she deserved it. He didn't deserve to die either. Nobody deserves to die in general. She didn't deserve to be hit. He didn't deserve to be hit. Like, I'm not saying it in that sense, and I'm not making excuses for anyone. But a lot of times we can get very single track minded,
Mm-hmm.
especially when we talk about hard cases like this. Whenever we know or we truly believe, not just this, but just in general, that someone is guilty. Because automatically in our mind, they're the one with the red X on them that we're going to attack and target.
Yeah.
And that's where I come in, because I flipped the script. So.
Let's see what we got. No, he's hot comments from the ladies in the peanut gallery this podcast.
They don't like the bald, scarred eyebrows, I suppose. Just the swastikas.
He was willing to take it to another level.
Sure.
He wouldn't surprise the top abuser. Okay.
Sure. He did indeed take it to another level. He ended her.
As you can see, like I've been saying, down at the bottom of the screen, our phone number is scrolling. It is 407-801-7204. We'd love to hear your comments while we're getting through this case here.
I guess while we're in like a little zoned out
little
period,
lull. Yeah.
A little lull, if you will, I'll just kind of touch on the different places that they traveled. So starting June 2021, they started in Northport, Florida, which is where they had been living with Brian's parents, and the goal was a months-long national park van life trip. June 2021 to July of 2021. So they started in New York. That was the first place outside of Florida. They actually spent time with Gabby's family before beginning the major western portion of the trip, and that was kind of the launching point for the cross-country journey. Then they made a stop in Kansas at the Monument Rocks in western Kansas, and it was kind of a travel stop on their way into the Mountain West. Then they went to Colorado Springs area. July 10th, 2021, they went to the Great Sand Dunes National Park. Then they went to Utah. They went to Zion National Park, Bryce Canyon National Park, the Mystic Hot Springs, and then, of course, Moab on August 12th, 2021. And then something that is not really talked about, which whether or not it has any significance, I honestly have no idea, but they did go to Salt Lake City, and they were there for longer than they were in any of the other places because Brian flew back to Florida. So Gabby stayed in a hotel near the airport from August 17th through the 23rd alone because Brian went back to Florida. I have no idea why, for whatever reason. And then they checked out of the hotel on August 24th. And then they went straight to Wyoming and did the Grand Teton National Park?
We're trying our best.
And then they went to Jackson, and then, of course, Spread Creek is kind of where I stopped the travel because that's where they stopped their travel together.
Yeah.
So that was the last place their van was seen, and that's where her body was found.
And there's video of the van
There is.
being found, which
Yes.
I think we might have talked about this privately. I think that's one of the only ways they found Gabby was because of that video.
I agree. Larissa said, do you think Gabby was also abusive towards Brian, or was her behavior more reactive within an unhealthy relationship?
I think that's a good question to kind of think about. I definitely think to be a social media influencer, it is a certain type of personality.
She did also have a temper. That is known.
Yeah.
That really comes into play. Sorry, I've lost my train of thought. That is shown in like the different documentaries. But she definitely did have a temper, which whether or not her temper in the past or anything else resonated in being aggressive, I'm not sure. I will say one thing that I think is interesting, and I mean, from everything I have seen, which I don't know if you've seen anything different, but in my mind, I feel as if I, as a parent, if I knew like my child was being like accused of being abusive or aggressive, my first instinct would be they'd never hit anyone
Mhm.
like that. But I've never seen or heard any like strong arguments against that allegation.
Yeah.
Obviously, I don't think she was a huge aggressor or abuser. But I do think it was reactive towards how it all ended up.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. We do have a call waiting from Sean. Wants to call in again. Let's go ahead and call Sean.
Hello.
Hello.
So this is Sean in Texas again. What were their home lives like with their parents? Did they come from broken homes? Did they, was there a lot of fighting in their households? Was there any of that? Did you do any research? Were the cops ever called to in either one of the parents' house because the parents were fighting, or is there a history or a pattern?
So in her family, no, not that I can see. It was a blended family, so her parents did get divorced, but they were still close as a family as a whole. That I do know. And then him, it's kind of harder to find things on him because other than seeing that he was close with his parents, because they've never said anything, it's really kind of harder
But
to
his
see.
parents, it should be, were his parents always together?
Yes.
And not saying because, just because parents are, always together, that there's not, bad situations or horrible fights or anything like that in a home. But, a lot of times with, maybe not in all times, but when parents do split up, it's because maybe a situation that could have been handled in a different manner just got out of hand. You know what I mean? And did he witness any of that stuff, from his childhood that would have caused him to,
there's no evidence of it, I guess I should say. There's nothing I can find anywhere or have been able to find or see anywhere.
And did he say how he killed her?
I
don't think there is a record of that from what I remember looking at. Because obviously when they found her, she was...
Taking somebody's life, getting mad at somebody and taking it to that level, that's,
all he said was that he ended her life, but her cause of death was manual strangulation.
Oh, so to strangle somebody and watch the life
Correct.
drain out of them, you've got to be pretty put off.
Correct.
In order to be able to be capable of doing that. Or somebody's, done something to you and pissed you off to the extent to where you would do something like that. That's a pretty in your face, way to kill somebody. Oh, I accidentally pushed them and they slipped and fell off the cliff into the canyon, I accidentally did this, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But for somebody to put their hands around somebody's throat and squeeze the life out of them, that's a deranged individual.
Correct.
And I don't think you would ever get over that either, even if you did something like that.
Yeah, I agree.
That would just be, having to live with that every day, knowing that you did that to somebody, especially if you thought that you loved them at one point. And I don't know. I know that there's I think there's 2 psychologists on the line that might be able to comment about. That's just somebody that's another level of anger, being mad at somebody and screaming and hollering, or, even raising your hand and striking somebody. But putting your hands around somebody's throat and squeezing the life out of them, that's not I don't know. Maybe one of the people that are the psychologists can comment on that. That would just be, I think that's more than I snapped, or, I got mad and we were pushing each other and all of that, and she slipped and fell off the side of the mountain. But, I mean, I don't know how you explain, I just put my hands around her throat and choked her to death.
No, I agree. That is a very...
Well, those were...
That's a very hard way to kill someone and have to watch it.
Well, and know that you did it.
Yeah.
And that you're capable of doing it. And, I don't know, and that's why I'm asking, maybe some of the people that are the psychologists maybe they've had experience with people with rage, or saying, and maybe they had clients that have had rage issues or blacked out and did stuff. But, I think that, strangling somebody, there's an underlying issue with the person. They didn't just snap.
Yeah, no, I agree with you.
Well, they had more going on mentally.
I agree.
Well, all right. Well, that was my 2 cents on that.
Thanks, Sean.
Thank you, Sean.
All right.
All right, bye. Interesting points. What?
Nothing.
Interesting points. I think we are kind of nearing the end of our show for today.
Yeah.
We will be covering this, like I said, for the next 2 episodes. This is our season finale for season 2 and Florida Crime. I think this is such a fascinating case. Today we kind of just laid the groundwork of like what is to come. Next episode we're going to be talking a little bit more about when Gabby went missing and the beginning stages of finding Gabby, subsequently finding Brian.
Yeah, and also
then
the body cam footage.
And the body cam footage, and then how odd his parents were. We're going to talk about that as well. So there's definitely more to come for that. Do you have any final thoughts?
I don't think so. I do want to clarify something. I by no means think that she was not abused. I just want to make that very clear. She definitely was abused. It was a domestic abusive relationship.
Oh,
she
absolutely.
was domestically abused. My point is that she was not the only one that was abused.
Mm-hmm.
He was also abused. It goes both ways. But in no way, shape, or form do I believe that she was not abused or she was only the aggressor and got what she was given. Like, she got what she deserved. I don't believe that at all.
Right.
I just want to make that very clear.
Oh no, and I'm following that. I don't think Gabby deserved to die. I don't think the situation she was put in general she deserved to be in at all. But it for sure goes both ways. They both obviously were young people with mental health struggles. And they were just not a good combo together to start with anyway.
I agree.
But yeah, thank you, Taylor, for joining us for this first episode of our season finale. It's exciting stuff here. Sorry, we're having a minor technical issue. I'm just getting things going here. If it decides to connect here. Perfect. Thank you, Taylor, so much for being on the show. And thank you so much for spending some of your evening with us here tonight. Part 2 of the Gabby Petito story airs live next Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time right here on YouTube. Veiled Mysteries is live every Monday at 8 p.m. in the East, 7 p.m. in the Mid-Region, and 6 p.m. in the West. Make sure to follow me on Instagram at Veiled Mysteries Pod for updates and to stay in touch. If you have a true crime case or conspiracy theory you'd like to see us cover, feel free to email or message me at veiledmysterytips@gmail.com. As always, ask questions, stay curious, and be informed. I'm Brandon Ward. Have a good night.